that sometimes turn ugly. Why can't we say this is what this is about right now? Why does race have to be made part of it?
It doesn't have to be made part of it. The reason why I wrote What Americans Really Want, really, is that I wanted to bring out what's actually happening, how people feel. I'm going to give you 3 statistics. Number 1, 72% of Americans are, and I quote, mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. 57% believe that their kids will have a worse quality of life than they will, and only 33% believe that America will be a better country for their children.
So there's enough anger out there to create this dissension without race being a part of it, in your opinion?
Among white, black, brown, it doesn't matter. We are afraid of the future, and we are angry with Washington and Wall Street for not providing a better future.
Michael, I don't know which is worse. Is it worse if, in fact, some of this opposition to President Obama is fueled by outright racism? Or is it worse if some liberals, in an attempt to defend President Obama and his plans, invoke the charge of racism to discredit the critics?
Well, clearly the first would be the problem, Matt. The existence of an abuse is far worse than those who trump it up. But let me say this. You don't ask the person who's been, the abuser, what the status of the progress is. You ask the people or the person who's been abused. Or if we look at terror, there's only been one terrorist strike, 9/11, but since then we've had terror alerts, we've been proactive, we've been preemptive. So race is the same way. Race is not only a form of terror, it is terror. And the thing is that, yeah, there have been, I think, incredibly valid incidents of racial opposition to Mr. Obama, and there's been an atmosphere from which those events have derived. So I think if you look at the teabaggers, if you look at the birthers, he's not even American. If you look at the racial sentiment that's swirling out there, of course we understand that it would be difficult for the Obama White House to come out and say, yeah, because he looks like a victim crying in his beer, so to speak. But at the same time, why is it that we put the burden of proof upon him when we know that this nation has been built upon so much racial inequality, and it continues to persist in our own time?
Let me read you both something that Maureen Dowd wrote in her column this week, and it's quite inflammatory. She wrote this: and she's talking about the incident at the speech before the joint session of Congress. The normally nonchalant Barack Obama looked nonplussed as Nancy Pelosi glowered behind, surrounded by middle-aged white guys, a sepia snapshot of the days when such pals ran Washington like their own men's club. Joe Wilson yelled, "You lie," at a president who didn't. But fair or not, what I heard was an unspoken word in the air: "You lie, boy." Frank, did you hear that word?
Absolutely not. The anger is not directed just towards Barack Obama. It's directed towards members of Congress. It's directed towards the Senate. It's directed towards the media, towards unions, towards institutions that we feel have failed us.
Michael, did you hear "you lie, boy" in that comment from Joe Wilson?
That and a lot more. You uppity in and so on. Here's the point, Matt.
You really heard that?
Well, obviously I didn't physically hear that, but the implication, the inference. You don't only deal with so-called empirically verifiable racism. You can point to a lynching or using a epithet. You look at the kind of atmosphere and attitude. Look at the opposition. President Obama wants to speak to the American school children. What's more American than that? People are keeping their kids at home because they fear he's going to use his bully pulpit to try to drive home a Democratic agenda. The point is, Matt, when you look at the intense concentration on Mr. Obama, painting him as a president with 2 eyes in a black box, calling him a Nazi, calling him a chimpanzee, calling him a monkey. How much evidence do you need?
All right, Frank.
And it amazes me that white Americans are incapable of acknowledging what is before our faces, and the reality is that we have to deal with the racial animus that undergirds and underlies American public
Frank,
discourse.
I'm going to give you,
and the resistance to Mr. Obama has been strong.
Give you the last word here. Real quickly, how should Republicans handle this charge? How should Democrats in the White House handle the charge?
I've interviewed almost 1 million people. I will tell you point blank, he's wrong about this. It's up to the Republicans to offer an alternative, and it's up to them to challenge the president in a civil way. But in the end, if they don't understand this isn't about Barack Obama. It's about fear of the future, fear of control, loss of freedom.
Frank Luntz.
Fear of a black planet and fear of a black man.
Please,
Frank Luntz and Eric Dyson. Gentlemen, thank you both. I appreciate it.